The display. I've worked retail for 11 years at the biggest chain stores. That's 11 years of Walmart Black Fridays and Best Buy Christmas rushes where dead-eyed customers will ruin your whole Tuesday over a coupon that expired 5 years ago. I have seen people at their worst. I thought I understood what obsession looked like, so I agreed to take over my friend's pop culture collectible store so he could retire to Portugal with his new wife. Then we started carrying Labubu, those cute horror plush dolls that Gen Z kids are obsessed with and collectors can't scoop up fast enough. The owner, Dennis, made the call in February, before he left, and said these would be hot, and he was right. He'd seen the lines outside the Pop Mart in the city, seen the resale prices online, and done the math. We weren't an anime or Japan pop specialty shop, just a mid-sized toys and collectibles place in a suburban strip mall between a nail salon and a Chipotle in upstate New York. But Dennis had a nose for trends, and Labubu was trending hard. So we got a shipment of blind boxes in a small display case near the register and waited to see what happened. The first Saturday we had them out, a woman came in 10 minutes after we opened. She went straight to the display, bought 6 blind boxes without blinking. She opened all 6 right there too, at the counter, peeling the packaging with a focus that made me uncomfortable to watch up close. She got 2 duplicates, then asked if we had more in the back. And we did. She bought 4 more. She came back the following Saturday and the one after that and cleaned us out of them. Dennis was stoked and gave me the green light to order more and start opening them up to mark them up. That's when I started posting pictures on our website, Instagram, and TikTok accounts, and by April, we had regulars. A rotating cast of collectors who knew our restock schedule better than I did even. Mostly adults, which I mention because you'd think from the aesthetic, all big eyes and sharp teeth, and that unhinged grin, that Labubu was a kid thing. And it was, because some kids did come in with their parents. But the real obsessives were the adults, women in their 30s and 40s mostly, and then male collectors who went out of their way to express to me that they didn't get the appeal, but would spend $200 on blind boxes. I started paying attention to the way people handled them. There was this reverence, the way someone would pick up a box and hold it, weigh it in their hands, shake it, like they could feel through the cardboard which Labubu was inside. Some people shook gently, some held them up to the light. A wonky woman named Carol, who came in every other Tuesday, would close her eyes and hold each box against her sternum for a few seconds before choosing. She told me once that you had to let it pick you. I laughed, but she wasn't joking. Then she went on a 45-minute rant telling me all the demonic stories about the Labubus on the internet, but said she wasn't afraid because she was an atheist. And the kids, they were different from the adult collectors in one specific way. The adults were all about the acquisition. The Beanie Baby collector brain, I called it. A need to complete a set at any cost. That is, the Beanie Baby collector brain. I started to notice how so many of the kids that would come in with their collector parents in the lead would walk up to the display case and go quiet. They weren't all over the Labubus, trying to figure out which one was inside. It was unsettling in a way kids don't go quiet unless something was wrong with them. No grabbing, no pointing, no noise, no excitement, or a desire to own one. Just staring at them, really, really still, like they were waiting for something. My coworker Jess said it creeped her out too, especially after we witnessed a 7 or 8-year-old stand in front of the display case for 6 uninterrupted minutes while her mother tried to get her attention, to the point that the mom left and came back for her. Then she just snapped out of it like nothing happened. Someone broke in one night, but they went directly for the cash register, not the collectibles, so we got our first security camera update in June. Dennis let me splurge on a new system, 4 cameras total, front entrance, back stockroom, register area, and one wide angle covering the main floor with a spotlight on the Labubu display. All the footage is saved to a cloud server, and I set it up so Dennis could check it from his phone in Portugal, which he loved. The new cameras were so sharp, way better than the old grainy system he had in there. You could read the price tags on merchandise from the ceiling angle. You could see faces clearly. And I want you to keep that in mind. The cameras caught everything clearly. July was our busiest month. A new series dropped and we got an allocation, and Dennis made me do a whole social media thing about it. Which, fine, whatever. We sold out in 2 days. The display case sat empty for a week while we waited for the next shipment, and I noticed the regulars coming in anyway, walking over to the empty case, standing there for a moment and then leaving. Carol did it twice. She'd stand in front of that empty case for a minute, just looking at where they'd been, and then she'd nod slightly like she confirmed something and walk out. The biggest shipment thus far came in on a Thursday in late July. Jess and I set up the display Friday morning before opening. 85 blind boxes, 5 open display figures, and tons of accessories and shirts, which were flying off the racks too. It took over the store. I was caffeinated and functional, which is the best I can offer on a Friday morning. That night, around 12 a.m., 2 kids broke into the store. The footage shows them coming in through the back stockroom window, which they'd managed to pop open, small enough to squeeze through. A boy and a girl, maybe 12 or 13 years old based on their size. They moved through the stockroom and into the main floor. Straight to the Labubu display, of course. Unlike the other break-in, they came for the Labubu, which is both very 2024 and also deeply concerning as a statement about where we are as a society. But what happened next, I have watched countless times. I know the number because I counted, but I'm not going to say it. I've watched over and over trying to find the edit, the glitch, the prank Jess or Dennis pulled on me, or something that explains this. With the girl, taller, and clearly the leader of this illegal expedition, the 2 kids stood at the display case for about 30 seconds. She made the boy open the case, which was unlocked, and started picking up blind boxes. The boy steps back, then steps behind her, and his face just goes blank, eyes wide open, staring at the open display figures. His mouth starts exaggeratedly moving as he bellows out to them in some gibberish or language which I've analyzed in every way possible and find no linguistic matches. The figures turn their heads, slowly at first in the same motion, oriented toward the boy who was standing closest to them, chanting at them. The girl screams just out of view, then runs into her frame towards the boy. She drops the blind boxes in front of her to begin yelling at the boy to snap out of it and run. The boy makes a loud, shrill screech that startles the girl, who recoils behind him as the display case figures step off the case. They turn around, looking up directly into the camera with their empty eyes, like they were watching us, watching them right now. Look, I know how this sounds. I know, I get it. But just let me finish, because the video is clear. The cameras are damn good, and what I am telling you is exactly what the footage shows. After staring through our souls into the cameras, the thing circled around the boy and girl. The girl ran. She made it back toward the stockroom. The footage shows her getting maybe 15 feet before she stopped moving. The camera angle isn't great from there. The wide shot covers the main floor, but the stockroom entrance is at the edge of the frame. I can see her stop. I can see her standing very still. And then I can see her fold downward in a way that what I am going to describe as folding, because I don't have a better word for it. Like something took the structural integrity out of her all at once and she collapsed. The other kid I couldn't see for the first 30 seconds. The display case blocked the angle. The figures got back on the case at 12:47 a.m. 4 minutes and change after they stepped off. They oriented themselves forward again, facing the store, and went still. That Saturday, I woke up to a barrage of panicked text from Dennis. At 9:12 a.m., I opened the store and went through my normal opening routine. The display case was exactly as we'd left it Friday night. All blind boxes accounted for, which I counted to rule out the obvious. The 2 display figures that moved in their spots on top of the case, everything is normal. No sign that 2 children had broken in through the back window, and no sign of children at all. Dennis and I talked for hours watching the footage while in investigator mode. We agreed to call the police and file a report, but when Dennis tried to retrieve the video, he said the main floor footage from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. was corrupted when he downloaded it. A file error happens sometimes when the cloud syncs and downloads. He wasn't concerned about it because reality gave him an out card. So he made me agree to forget about it, but be cautious going forward. I pulled it up myself on my phone after he left that evening. I played it, and it played fine. I still open the store every morning. I still do social media posts when new series come in. I smile at Carol when she comes in on Thursdays and holds the boxes against her chest and lets them pick her. I still keep the display case unlocked at night because a locked case is not a serious theft deterrent. But I didn't look directly at those figures on the top of the case since that night, and I never will again. Ever. Not because I think something will happen, but once you've seen something look back at you, into you, through you, you start understanding why Carol closes her eyes. Maybe with some things, you're just better off letting them pick you. What Maya asked for. My sister has always been a difficult person to buy gifts for, and her daughter Maya has always been the exact opposite. Maya would accept a gift wrap rock with genuine enthusiasm if you gave it to her nicely. She was 9 in December of last year. Brown hair, green eyes, and armed with lots and lots of questions about everything. My sister Rachel called me in November asking me what I knew about the Labubu craze because Maya had been asking for one since September, and Rachel couldn't figure out if they were appropriate or not. I'd seen them online, knew they were popular, told Rachel they were basically just designer toys, a little weird looking but nothing concerning. Kids love them. Rachel said Maya had been very specific about the one she wanted, had shown her a picture even. The Fall Monster series, a particular colorway, is what Maya asked for. I told Rachel it sounded fine, told her to get it. I want to be honest about my role in this because I think that's important. I told her to get it. And Rachel found one through a resale seller online because the series had sold out everywhere retail. Paid more than she should have, she told me later, but Maya had been so specific and so patient about asking that Rachel wanted to get the right one. It arrived the week before Christmas in perfect condition. The seller had packaged it carefully, original box and everything. Yay for eBay. Maya opened it Christmas morning and went completely still. Rachel said it was the most intense reaction she'd ever seen Maya have to a gift, and Maya is a kid who reacts to gifts. She held it in both hands and looked at it for a long time without saying anything. Then she said thank you in a voice that Rachel described to me as too formal, too adult, like she was completing a transaction. Maya named it immediately and didn't tell anyone the name. When Rachel asked, Maya said the name was private between her and it. Things were normal for about 2 weeks. Maya carried the Labubu everywhere, which was typical collector kid behavior. Rachel wasn't concerned. It sat on Maya's nightstand when she slept. Maya talked to it, but kids talk to toys. That's things kids do. The first thing Rachel noticed, though, were drawings. Maya had always been a good artist for her age, careful and deliberate. In January, her drawings changed. She was drawing the same figure over and over. Tall, much taller than a Labubu, with the same general shape but stretched, elongated, standing in what looked like a dark space, with things Rachel couldn't quite identify around its feet, small rings. The drawings had a quality Rachel described to me as devotional, like diagrams, not pictures, like Maya was trying to document something accurately from her mind. Rachel asked Maya what she was drawing. Maya said she was drawing what the Labubu showed her when they talked. Rachel called me after that conversation, and I told her it was probably just imaginative play. Maya started leaving things out at night. Rachel noticed it first late in January, a small pile at the foot of Maya's bed. Crackers, a few pieces of Halloween candy she'd apparently been saving since October, a drawing folded into a square, and other weird little things. Rachel asked Maya about it, and Maya said calmly that she was just learning how to do it right. And of course, when Rachel asked Maya how to do what right, Maya said the offering. That was the word that she had used, offering. Rachel took the Labubu away that night, told Maya it was going in the closet for a while. Maya accepted this with composure that Rachel found more disturbing than a tantrum would have been. She just nodded and said okay and went to sleep. 3 days later, Rachel found it back on the nightstand. She asked Maya how she got it there. Maya said she'd gotten up at night and gotten it because it asked her to. Rachel put it back in the closet, higher up this time, in a bin she had to use a step stool to reach. 2 days after that, it was under her bed. Rachel called me, and I drove down that weekend. I wanted to see what we were actually dealing with because over the phone, it was just not the same thing. Kids go through phases, so I told Rachel to give the Labubu back to her. I wanted to see Maya and see this thing interact and make a reasonable adult assessment. I arrived Saturday afternoon. Maya was fine. She seemed normal, cheerful, and even showed me a book she was reading. The Labubu was on the nightstand in her room, and I went in to look at it while Maya was downstairs with Rachel. It looked exactly like the pictures online. A toy. A piece of vinyl on a nightstand. But the new drawings on Maya's desk were something else. Rachel wasn't kidding. There were maybe 30 of them stacked in a neat pile. I looked through them. The figure Maya had been drawing, the tall, elongated one, had gotten more detailed over the weeks, and the small things around its feet in the earlier drawings had resolved in the later ones into shapes, and I recognized them as people, small figures on their knees bowing down or maybe collapsed. It was hard to say. The composition was the same in every drawing, the tall figure in the center, the small figures around it, and at the top of each page, written in Maya's careful printing, 2 words. 2 words which made me immediately walk downstairs to show Rachel. The 2 words were thank you, written at the top of every drawing she did today. Like the drawings were correspondence. Rachel and I talked in the kitchen while Maya watched TV in the other room. Rachel said Maya had told her 2 weeks ago, unprompted, that she had asked the Labubu for something, and it was going to do it. And when Rachel wanted to know what she'd asked for, Maya said she couldn't tell her or it wouldn't work. I asked Rachel if anything unusual or stressful had happened to them recently. She thought for a moment and mentioned that Maya's father, her ex, David, had been having a difficult month. He had some health issues going on, nothing diagnosed yet, but he'd been in and out of the doctor with symptoms nobody seemed to explain. He lost his temper with her and made her cry the last time she saw him, and she's refused to go back. I always knew that David had been a difficult presence in Maya's life. Perhaps this is what triggered this situation with the Labubu, I thought. I was saying goodbye to Maya when I picked up the Labubu from the nightstand before I left that Sunday. I told Maya I was borrowing it for a while and promised her I'd take good care of it. Maya looked at me thoughtfully for a second. It won't matter if you take it, because it was already done. Her words began weighing on me the moment I walked out the door. I put the Labubu in a shoebox in my trunk and drove home. It sat there for a few days while I figured out what to do with it. David was hospitalized the following Tuesday. Something neurological, they thought. Something the doctor told Rachel he'd never seen before in 20 years of practice. He was in a coma with machines keeping him alive. I had dinner with them both on Wednesday when Maya asked me if I still had her Labubu. I told her yes. She nodded and said I could keep it now because she didn't need it anymore. She said it had done what she asked it, and it was time to pass it on. So I asked her what it did for her. She just smiled at me and said, "If you know, you know." David died Thursday afternoon. And to this day, I keep thinking about what Maya said when I took her Labubu, that it didn't matter because it was already done. It's been almost 8 months now. The shoebox is still in my trunk. I've thought about opening it probably 50 times, but I never did. I've thought about throwing it away, smashing it, and burning it, but all those ideas feel ridiculous when I try to explain it to myself out loud. But the thought that still haunts me the most is the day Maya wants it back. Sleep. It seems like a good idea to me to not believe in anything that cannot be photographed, recorded, and measured. I am a skeptic about pretty much everything. This approach keeps me sane and has helped me develop a mantra I repeat in my mind at night that helps me fall asleep. Sleep used to be hard to come by after I bought Priya a Labubu she'd been talking about for months. I just wanted to do something nice for her. We'd been together for 2 years. I knew what she liked, so I found a seller online with good reviews and a fair price for the colorway she mentioned, the limited pastel one from the Valentine series, and I paid for it. Got the confirmation email and felt pretty good about myself. I like giving gifts. It arrived. She opened the box in the kitchen and made a sound I've never heard her make before. She wasn't surprised exactly. Her response was more like recognition or maybe precognition, like she'd been expecting it and was relieved it had finally arrived. She held it in both hands and looked at it for a long time. Then she put it on the nightstand on the side of her bed and said it was perfect. I asked her if she wanted to put it on the bookshelf with her other figures. She said the nightstand was just right. Then she grabbed it and put it on the bed, fiddling with it until she got the right spot. That's when I stopped sleeping well. It was nothing dramatic at first. I'd wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. and Priya would be sitting up in bed, just sitting there in the dark. I'd ask if she was okay and she'd say yes, sorry, couldn't sleep, and she'd lie back down and I'd fall back asleep. This happened 4 times in 2 weeks, and I mentioned it to her one morning over coffee, and she said she hadn't remembered getting up at all, which, fine, people do things in their sleep. But 4 times and you don't remember even once? I found that hard to believe, but let it go. The next time, I woke up and she was standing at the foot of the bed, facing the wall. I called her name. She turned around and came back to bed in the dark. I looked over at her, and for just a split second, I swore her face seemed off, distorted or changed in a way that was unsettling at 3 a.m. I was half asleep, and faces can look strange in the dark, so I let it go. I told myself that for about another week, until she started bringing the Labubu to bed with us to help her sleep. That's when the image I had burned into my brain of her face that night began to bother me. The thing about the face is hard to describe. You know how sometimes you look at a word you've written 100 times before and suddenly it looks wrong, like you didn't write it, or suddenly the arrangement of letters seems off, even though you know it's correct. It was like that. Priya's face, a face I knew completely, suddenly had changed. All the pieces were right, it's just the arrangement was off. The second time I really noticed the face thing, we were watching TV, and she laughed at something, and the laugh was hers, her actual laugh that I knew. But there was something mechanical underneath it, like the laugh was a sample being played back rather than a thing happening in real time. I looked at her, and her face was fine. She caught me looking, raised her eyebrows, and I said nothing and turned back to the TV. I started paying attention in a way I can only describe as reluctant because now, every night, Priya would be sitting up in bed, holding that Labubu. I sat there, awake, listening to her grunt, make strange bodily noises, and speak in gibberish. This is when it started impacting her life in a way that terrified me. The timing of her sentences was off, and once I noticed it, I couldn't stop noticing. Priya talks fast, always has. Her thoughts come out slightly ahead of her words in the specific way where the sentences bump into each other just a little bit. But the sentences had stopped bumping, and she seemed physically and mentally drained. I was feeling pretty exhausted too, so I told myself I was projecting. I let it go. I told myself I was creating a pattern from noise. I am a data person professionally, and I understand confirmation bias. I know what it looks like when a brain decides to find something and then finds it everywhere. I almost convinced myself, I should say. Then I woke up at 3 a.m. on a Saturday in March, and I will never forget. And the bed was empty. This had happened before, I reminded myself. She gets up, sits in the living room, comes back. It's normal. I lay there for 10 minutes and then go to check on her because I couldn't fall back to sleep. She was in the kitchen, standing at the counter with her back to me. She said, "Hey," without turning around or even me saying a word to her. When I asked her what she was doing, she told me not to worry about it and to go back to bed. I walked toward her. She turned around quickly, with a hardened look on her face, like she was going to attack me. I stopped, and she stopped. She looked exactly like Priya, the hair, the face, the clothes, but not so much. I looked at her, and then I looked at the counter next to her, because I needed to look somewhere. The Labubu was sitting there on the counter, and it had her face. The same face, the same features, simplified to a Labubu face, but unmistakably Priya's eyes, Priya's mouth, Priya's specific face looking up from me on a vinyl figure sitting on the kitchen counter after 3 a.m. I looked between them, Priya and the figure with Priya's face. She reached towards me like she never used her arms and legs before. Priya smiled and asked me what was wrong, but the timing between the question and the smile was off by about a quarter second, and that quarter second was the thing that broke everything open. I had to get away and think. Stumbling to the bathroom, I questioned my sanity as I locked the door and sat down on the floor against the wall because my legs felt unreliable. She knocked on the door 2 minutes later. 3 light taps, a pause, and one more. Priya was a hard knocker, never in a pattern. I clutched the tub when she started calling my name through the door. "Come on, open up, I'm not mad," she kept saying in a voice that was her voice, but just a hair deeper, with that quarter-second lag underneath it, like a signal with a slight delay. I didn't respond. Then quiet. A long, uncomfortable quiet. Several minutes long. I sat against the tub. I was startled by her voice at the door. It was louder. She was speaking right into the gap, saying my name repeatedly. Her hand wriggled under the door, fingers first, jointed in the wrong places, with a skin texture smooth like vinyl. I screamed, then instinctively forced the window open and jumped out. As I walked around the house, I could see our front door was open. Priya was standing in the hallway with their arms crossed, head tilted, the worried look she always gets when she thinks I'm not taking care of myself. For a second, I thought she looked like herself again. I walked to the door and inside cautiously. Priya put her hand on my arm, and her hand felt like her hand. And she squeezed it the way she always squeezes. She kissed me, grabbed my arm, and said, "Let's just go to bed." And her kiss was her kiss. Her voice was her voice, with no lag underneath it. I was relieved that I could not find a single specific thing wrong. The Labubu was on the nightstand when we got back to the room. Her face on the figure, or what I thought was her face, looked like a normal, ugly Labubu figure in the normal light of our normal bedroom. I stood there looking at it for a long time while Priya was in the bathroom. Priya got into bed, and we made wild, passionate love for the first time in a long time. This was 8 months ago. Priya is fine now. The Labubu is back on the nightstand. I asked her once, maybe a month after that night, if we could move it to the bookshelf, but she wanted it there. I have looked at that figure's face 100 times trying to see what I saw in the kitchen that night, but it still looks like a normal Labubu. Big eyes, sharp teeth, that grin. Some mornings I wake up and Priya is sitting up in bed in the dark, and I ask if she's okay, and she says yes, sorry, couldn't sleep. And I lie back down. And I listen to her breathing in the dark, even and slow, and I count the breaths. And somewhere around the 12th or 13th breath, I fall back asleep using my mantra. But sometimes in the dark, before I fall asleep, I think I hear something from the side of the room. The sound of something I can't explain. But I just tell myself it's nothing and move on. And I'm pretty good at that by now.
Horror.
You're listening to Nerd Horror Stories, a twice-weekly horror anthology series. No commentary, no long intros, just stories. Stories to fall asleep to, stories to keep you awake, and stories that feel close to home. Please subscribe